The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, specializing in solar installations, battery storage, and clean energy solutions tailored to the homes and businesses of Western Massachusetts. Northeast-solar.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Visiting Angels West Springfield, providing home care for seniors and veterans in Hampden County, including Angel Care, short-term post-surgery support for seniors and their loved ones. visitingangels.com/West Springfield.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. This Thursday at Mass Mocha in North Adams is the kickoff to Bang on a Can's Loud Weekend. And Mass Mocha in Building B6, my favorite vitamin, is where we are right now.
We keep moving around the buildings. This is really fun, actually.
We need all the vitamins.
Bang on a Can Loud Weekend features 3 days of immersive music experiences set within the context of Mass Mocha's vast galleries, performing art stages, and outdoors.
Over 70 groundbreaking musicians from around the world come together to give shape to new sounds during this 3-day super mix of experimental music.
Loud Weekend is the culminating event of the 24th annual Bang on a Can Summer Music Festival at Mass Mocha, a 3-week artist residency for innovative composers and performers selected from an international roster of artists.
Leading up to the Loud Weekend finale, Bang on a Can fellows and faculty let loose throughout the galleries where we are now.
We welcome to the show Bang on a Can founder and composer of one of my absolute favorite pieces, Julia Wolf. Julia Wolf's music is distinguished by an intense physicality and a relentless power that pushes performers to extremes and demands attention from the audience. She draws inspiration from folk, classical, and rock genres, bringing a modern sensibility to each while simultaneously tearing down the walls between them.
In the 2026-27 season, Wolf sees 4 premieres of her critically acclaimed work, Fire in My Mouth, based on the garment industry in New York City at the turn of the 20th century, with a focus on the tragic 1911 Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire and its aftermath.
In addition to receiving the 2025 Pulitzer Prize in Music,
2015.
That's right. That was 2025.
We're gonna get you
was last
another
year.
one for last
You can have
year.
one for last year.
I was going to say, yeah, let's do it
Bring 'em
again.
on.
Let's do it again.
2015 Pulitzer Prize in Music. Wolf was a 2016 MacArthur Fellow. She received the 2015 Herb Alpert Award in Music and was named Musical America's 2019 Composer of the Year. Julia Wolf is co-founder and co-artistic director of New York's legendary music collective Bang on a Can, and she is artistic director of NYU Steinhardt Music Composition.
We can hear some of your works on Saturday, including Blue Dress for String Quartet and Moth, and we welcome back to the Fabulous 413, Julia Wolf. Thanks so much for welcoming us back to your wonderful festival here.
Thanks so much. You guys are amazing. Just covering us every year. It's such an honor. So we're thrilled you're here to tell everyone all about it.
It's an honor for us. Like, who doesn't want to be surrounded by like music innovators
Oh,
and hear
totally.
what they're bringing into the world?
And year after year, we get blown away by the musicians that we get to encounter here, either like a piece for solo drum kit or the most insane accordion player I've ever seen in my entire life. That's just the kind of wonderment that we expose ourselves to when we come to Bang on a Can. But Julia, this is the longest running festival at Mass Mocha. I mean, we were just here for Solid Sound and we broadcast Wilco's Festival, and we love that festival too. And may the return of fresh grass be speedy, hopefully. But Bang on a Can's been doing this almost since the very beginning. Can you talk about the origins of this as a sort of a mentorship program and then as a festival?
Yeah, well, I should say that we came in right at the start of Mass Mocha. And for anyone who doesn't know, Bang on a Can is a New York-based organization. We do a festival in New York called Long Play, sort of similar to Loud Weekend up here. We have a touring ensemble, the Bang on a Can All-Stars. So year-round activities, but we come up here every summer, and it really was a dream early on to have a program or a gathering, I could say really, of like-minded, adventurous musicians, composers, and performers. It's all about living music. You know, there are other festivals, and there's a piece that might be contemporary, but here it's all about what's happening right now and what's being created right now. So it is a dream that has been fulfilled and still going strong. But at the core of it is this gathering of musicians from all over the world.
And it being in a museum kind of gets to honor Bang on a Can's origins and that first marathon in a museum of playing music together too.
Yeah, I mean, just being in an art environment is so incredible. There's an openness. I think the idea, like when you're going to the Whitney or any other great museum, there's this idea that you want to be challenged. You're actually going in to be challenged. So we've tried to take that spirit and bring it to the contemporary music world. It hasn't always been there. Sometimes there's been a little bit of a divide between listeners and what's happening right now in this kind of adventurous world that we're in. But that's changed. The whole world has changed, and we've been so happy to be a part of that, just like art museums, like come in, have a new experience.
The adventurous world, that talk a little bit about that. Steve, one of the big icons besides Bang on a Can that people may know are Philip Glass, who will be celebrated. We'll talk a little bit about that. Stephen Reich and all that. And it can be divisive for audiences. They don't feel like they understand it. But you have turned it into something that, entertains and delights at least us and hopefully some of our listeners as well.
You're doing Terry Riley this year.
We are.
But there must have been a moment, and the thing that's amazing is so many of the musicians that you work with here are trained in the traditional means. They learn the rules before they break them. What was the first thing that let you know, hey, it's okay for me to not just play Bach and Beethoven, and that I can do anything? Was there an aha moment for you? Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of us come from so many different backgrounds and tracks. Like I kind of come from the creative writing world, so I don't think I ever had that. I wasn't like a child prodigy playing Bach at the age of 3. I was playing show tunes, and I really had no really thought of studying music. I was more oriented towards social history and political history, which is why I write the pieces I write. So I kind of came to Bach and Beethoven after contemporary music. It's like I got into this cool, crazy stuff, including indie rock, folk. And then I went, oh yeah, there's this cool stuff that happened way back when, and amazing music. I love
indie rockers of their day.
I love, those indie guys were really cool. And that's something that's hard for people to remember, that Beethoven too was a living young composer, very radical in the day. And so, you got to look around you and say, well, what's happening right here, right now? And so that's our passion, and we try to service that.
We're speaking with Bang on a Can founder Julia Wolf here at Mass Mocha. The Bang on a Can Loud Weekend kicks off this Thursday. There's all sorts of exciting stuff happening. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening this particular Loud Weekend, Julia.
Yeah, well, one thing that I love is it's multi-generational, and it's been that from the get-go. In 1987, when we did the first marathon, there are names you recognize, John Cage, Steve Reich, and names nobody knows. And that's the case here, too. We've got this beautiful piece by Philip Glass. It's a new arrangement of Glass works for the Bang on a Can All-Stars, made by Michael Reisman, who is Philip Glass's right-hand collaborator for years. So that's an iconic thing, and everyone many people are familiar with Philip's music. At the same time, we have all of these new works from the fellows here, hot off the press. They're young, age isn't really the issue, but they're new to the field. They're just getting started. Really exciting people, really exciting works. So those things are side by side. They're all treated equally. That was one of our goals. It's not like, the big cheese and then then there's some other people doing something. They get on every level is so important. Equal time, equal focus. So we love that mix. So I think that the diversity on every level is so important. And particularly for me, the multi-generational aspect is close to my heart, to always be in dialogue with different generations.
The works that get performed for for Loud Weekend, are they works that were gestated before the fellows come in for like the workshops, or are they things that get generated as these musicians bond over 3 weeks, like creating new ensembles and new mixtures, new textures?
Both, but primarily for the composers. We have 8 composer fellows. They get accepted. There's a application process for everybody. We have like hundreds of applicants, and we whittle it down to 8, and they get assigned or basically offered some different possible groups to write for. They're usually large ensembles and kind of a nice challenge. So they know that ahead of time. They write their piece before they get there, at least their big pieces. But the day they get here, we go, hey, you know what? There's some extra time. Everybody's got a week to write a 5-minute quick piece for these various groups. And so they're like, oh, okay. They jump in and we're like, just go for it, try something new. So there's both the pre-composition and certainly all of the guests coming in. That music existed already. But stuff happens right here on the spot too. But I think the sweetest thing though is that they all meet each other and they all start to form friendships and later festivals and ensembles. It's a breeding ground for them to go out and change the world.
Well, we're going to meet a couple of the people that have kind of grown up through the festival and now become part of the fabric of the festival. And we'll hear some music from Carl Larson as well as Ken Thompson a little bit later in the show. But we are at Mass Mocha celebrating Bang on a Can and their Loud Weekend, which kicks off this Thursday with Bang on a Can founder Julia Wolf. You on Saturday are going to be presenting Blue Dress for String Quartet and Moth. Can you tell us a little bit about those pieces?
Yeah, well, we're talking about a lot of strings and a lot of singing. They have to sing and play. Well, some have to sing and play. So I'll start with Moth. It's kind of a new version of an earlier sketch that I had. It's a very strange text. It was taken from this very early American comic writer, Don Marquis, and the book is Archie and Mehitabel. 1930s, sometime in the 1930s. It was a project that was actually instigated by the composer Louis Andriessen, one of our mentors and inspirations. He's no longer with us, but I took the assignment literally, and I read this book, and I found this very strange little excerpt where someone's talking about, well, I was talking to a moth the other evening, and he flies into the electric light bulb and fries himself. And why does he do that? And the moth is like, well, it's better to be have beauty in this crazy experience than to live a boring life. So it's a little dark, to say the least. But it's also at the end, the narrator kind of goes, well, I'd rather live a long life than die like by being turned into a cinder. But on the other hand, I wish I wanted something as much as the moth wanted that. So it's this kind of strange look at human behavior, I guess. And so that's one thing. It's sung by Freya. I've got to remember her last name, Freya, who's here from Denmark. She's a singer, and she's singing with Todd Reynolds playing on viola. And Blue Dress for String Quartet actually had an earlier version for 5 violins, but I whittled it down to this quartet, and they are fiddling like crazy, singing. It's kind of a riff on, there's this folk little, actually it was like a field recording that I found on a collection of field recordings, and it's pretty little girl with a blue dress on, stole my heart and away she's gone. So I just go pretty little, pretty. So they're playing and just singing little fragments, very much inspired by one of my favorite fiddlers, Bruce Malsky, who is this fiddler who tends to sing little fragments while he's fiddling. I was like, that's cool. So it comes out of that tradition, and certainly American folk music is a big part of my own personal journey. So that's what we get, some fiddling and singing.
I had kind of conflated the moth being like, silk moths and bombyx moths that used to make silk and things like that, and the blue dress and the shirtwaist factory fire and all these things. This is like a fabric theme for your works. Am I reading too much into this?
No, that's great. And actually it's funny because just yesterday I finished this piece called Weave, and then before that I had a piece called Cloth. So yeah, there's some kind of fabric. I don't know.
I can't wait to see the fashions of Julia Wolf from Bang on a Can founder.
Now that means now you have like a sweet.
It's kind of a sweet.
Fabric
like
sweet. Yeah. A fabric softener.
No softener. No.
Yes.
It's rough material. Yeah.
But it's also cool. Like that technique sounds like a really early terrestrial version of sampling too.
Yeah, it is. It's in quotation, but it's interesting. Yeah, it does have, I'm sure unconsciously, it has a relationship to how now sampling and kind of grabbing things and integrating them into your work is so much part of the language. And I hadn't thought about that. I think it's true.
That's Julia Wolf, one of the founders of Bang on a Can. Bang on a Can's Loud Weekend returns to Mass Mocha in North Adams starting this Thursday and going through the weekend. Well, let's bring into the conversation our next guest, Shelley Washington.
Shelley Washington is a composer, performer, collaborator, and educator who grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, hence the sticker on her water bottle. Preferring to write music with big palettes that draw elements from jazz and rock and American folk and other musical spaces, new and old, she performs regularly as a saxophonist,
saxophonist. We've heard it either way.
Yes, primarily Barry, and
nice.
Loves making lots and lots of noise. She's also a vocalist and doubles on flute, piccolo, clarinet, and sometimes English handbells. She's had music released on the DIY Hardcore versus Classical label, People Places Records, plus she's a founding member of the composer collective Kinds of Kings and the rock band Good Looking Kids.
She has a Bachelor of Arts in Music and a Master of Arts in Education from Truman State University and a Master of Music in Composition from NYU Steinhardt. And her bio says that she last lived in Princeton, New Jersey with her dog Rodeo.
Yes.
And working on a doctorate. Rodeo still around and doctorate complete?
No, but rodeo is still.
Oh, good. All
Hanging
right.
out in
That's
Brooklyn.
the one I cared most about. Rodeo's still here. You can finish your doctorate whenever.
Right. It's just a
Or
little
not.
paper.
It's also okay.
It's okay.
You're going to be performing a couple different times throughout the course of the Loud Weekend, Shelley. And both Khalees and I, both coming from two different directions towards Massmoka today, spent the drive listening to your music. So we're glad to be here with you in person. The Barry sax in particular. I think if I had to pick almost a favorite instrument, or an instrument that every time I hear it moves me so deeply, it literally like kind of grabs you by the gut and just drags you wherever the person is playing it. And it was so great listening to that, driving the winding roads of Route 2 from Turner's Falls out here today. So thanks for your music.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be back on the other side of being a fellow. I'm having kind of a blast from the past, and it's been really, really fun.
How was that experience for you being here as a fellow?
And when was that?
This was in 2017. Well, that's not that long ago, but I feel like so much has changed.
It's nearly a decade
since
ago, but don't tell anyone.
Don't say those words out loud. It's horrible. All of the people that I'm still really close friends with all of the people that I came to this program with, and it's really funny. I actually ran into one of the Uzbekistani performers in Chicago, and like it's so crazy. I'm like, oh my goodness, we had this shared experience together. We've both like moved to these different places, but we still have this crazy connection that was very serendipitous. But it's so much has changed since then because of this program, which is really fun. But as a fellow, overwhelming because of all of the huge art and huge pieces that you're just so like deeply ingrained in. And I always feel like for music festivals, like when you're, in any kind of intensive away from home, every day feels like a week and every week feels like a month, but in like the best way ever. And so it's like, 3 weeks of these ultra enriching, inspiring, years essentially. But yeah, I loved it so much. I have many, many fond memories.
We were asking Julia, one of the founders of Bang on a Can, what was sort of an aha moment to, liberate you as for we jokingly say there's conservatories that people go to, but there's also liberatories where people can feel like they want to do whatever they want. What was your musical journey to get you to becoming a fellow at Bang on a Can?
Oh my goodness. Well, I entered composition I kind of stumbled into it at Truman State University. Go Bulldogs. I actually wrote a musical. Like I had taken a intro to composition class, and I'm like, this is super fun. And the university's like, we are doing an interdisciplinary research initiative, which is basically the music department and the theaters department bid for just getting money and doing something random. And so I auditioned to do that. I was accepted into it, which made a lot of the composers in the department kind of unhappy. But I'm like, well, I'm sorry, guys. I write melodies, so I don't know what to tell you. But they basically just like put me in a room with a writer from the theater department, and they said, you have 5 weeks. We want a 70-minute show, which at the time I'm like, yeah, that's totally doable. I was working on my master's at the time. It was insane. But it was so much fun because I'm like, wait a minute, I can do, within the confines of like every rhyme has to be a perfect rhyme. There are no near rhymes. I'm actually quite proud of that.
Well done.
Thank you. No, this musical will never see the light of day. And that is totally fine.
Bring it to Massmoka.
Did you have to do libretto
Many musicals
and
have been birthed here.
With
Did you have, with the musical that you wrote, did you have to do the libretto and the script?
I was a consultant on the libretto, but it was so much fun. And I'm like, wait a minute, people do this. That's still a like career and profession and a route. And so I finished the education master's, and education and teaching is my first love, and I'm really glad I get to keep doing that. But I came to New York and I visited 10-ish schools. I cold emailed so many different composers, and I said, hi, how do you do this? Can I come? And I got to come visit NYU, and sit in on Julie's string quartet class and was just like, oh my God, this is like, there were 9 composers in that year who, many of which I'm still very, very close friends with. And I still read, apply, formed, is get a kind of, and
Hands, Julia Wolf, have a festival.
Learned so much. Man, I worked in Stanford. I'll be everybody else, but other artists. We
like true of the late and how important.
I 15 didn't for that. Which going to be. Lime was on 9.3. They were not high school so much off the needle. I've never got to grow up, so I'm been
Which is
before I was close friends with living in I've ever met was I would think Shelley play hence the music. I moved to this piece. Stumbled to the those are beautiful and tell us.
Cans now. Kids, now that you're in.
I had a friend, Vine, really, and sometimes, like, how can you get a full narrative arc into a 6-second video?
Wow.
And so many people are absolutely brilliant storytelling storytellers. I actually remember Jack Quartet had a Vine for like a very brief moment, and they are incredible players, but also hilarious. And so I loved following them. But so now with TikTok and Instagram and Reels, and like they're all kind of the same platform at this point, you've been able to really, like, many people have launched whole different careers and like have really put their music out there. So one of the fellows that was in my year at here as a fellow, Cassie Weiland, is now she had a song go pretty viral in 2020 on TikTok, and now has her band Vines that has just blown up internationally because of these online platforms. And so music has changed a lot, but in a really good way. It's very equalizing because everyone has the same access, which I think is really cool, but I cannot keep up.
I know
can't.
that
I have
feeling.
tried, and I have a phone addiction, and it's a problem. I'm working on it, but yeah, it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
And something algorithm skew. Something.
Yeah, sure. The For You page. Oof. Yeah.
Shelley, on Friday, you're part of a percussion quartet.
Yeah, they're gonna play one of the pieces that I wrote. It's in 2021, I believe, called Sunday, and it's a mallet quartet with 2 marimbas and 2 vibraphones.
And are you playing too?
I am not.
Okay.
Which is for the best.
Okay. But then Saturday, it's the Shelley Washington Experience, it seems like. It says Experience Shelley Washington, but I feel like if you call it the Shelley Washington Experience,
I don't think
it's
I
got more of a
realized.
Hendrix vibe to it.
Yeah, I read
It's
it on
like
the
Robert
program.
Glasper.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And that will include Uniform, Silk, and Big Talk, which Big Talk is what I was listening to mostly on the drive-in this morning.
Is the intro poem going to be included in the performance, or are you just launching into the work?
And talk a little bit about why that's an important intro poem.
Yeah, so it is included in the piece, and so all performers who play this work, they don't have to, but they have to speak the poem out loud. So I wrote this I think second year at NYU, and moving from the Midwest to New York City, when you are outside significantly more, many women and femmes experience catcalling and harassment, just like the different forms of all of that. So this piece is a reaction to that, and so it's very much an endurance piece. You all talked about full body performance, full body writing, and so I wrote it at the time of like, how far can I as a performer go? And so the poem at the beginning has some statistics about like how many specific women have experienced this and this and this, and just like, for the love of God, don't do that. But then once they launch in and into this piece, I kind of thought about what is the most physically taxing thing I can do on Barry, and how long can I do it for? And it's very cathartic because it's just like hammering away and hammering. And at least for me, I I tried going back and playing it a couple years ago. I am no longer in my prime, and I've realized that. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. But I played it here with Ken Thompson when I was a fellow, and I actually brought the T-shirts back that I made, and there are expletives on these T-shirts, which I shall not speak on the radio.
Because you know radio.
Yes, I will not say them, but I brought them back, and they're going to be wearing them again for this performance, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, there's a sartorial aspect of the piece as well.
That's
where
great.
Performers are asked to
bringing fabric back into it again.
Right. Yeah. My mom's also a seamstress, so uniforms and silk are also about fabric.
Yeah.
So like we got a lot of weaves going on here. But yeah.
Well, speaking of Ken Thompson, we're going to eavesdrop on a Ken Thompson rehearsal before our hour is out
Nope,
here.
Carl Larson.
Well,
Oh wait, no, we are.
Yeah, we are. And then we're going to talk to and hear Carl Larson before this hour is up too. But we've been joined so far by Shelley Washington, whose baritone sax moved us the whole way towards Mass Mocha in North Adams, both Khalees and I, earlier today, and one of the people responsible for bringing this festival, this wonderful loud weekend, to light here for decades now in North Adams. Julia Wolf, one of the Bang on a Can founders. Thank you both so much for joining us.
I quite like your band.
Thank you.
We're going to take a little break, and then we'll be back with the aforementioned Carl Larson. We'll hear some of his work, and then we'll get to that Ken Thompson rehearsal. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We are at Mass Mocha in anticipation of Bang on a Can's Loud Weekend with one of the Bang on a Can founders, Julia Wolf, and we will introduce our next guest, who we'll get to hear perform in just a second. But Julia, you're not the only Bang on a Can founder, and you wanted to make sure that everybody knows that, and we've gotten to meet your cohort in years past, but do give them a shout out.
For sure, yeah. So, well, this all started with me and Michael Gordon and David Lang. Both Michael and David have beautiful, significant works on this festival. Michael has a piece for 8 cellos called 8. It's a huge spatial circle. You'll hear the sound whizzing around the room. You can sit actually in the middle of that circle or on the outside, so it's a very beautiful spatial experience. David has his iconic and spooky Death Speaks in his usual David style, dark and fantastic, which is also a lengthy piece and significant work. So
couple other highlights you want to hit throughout the course of the weekend besides what we've already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great guests coming in. Yasmin Williams is coming in to play guitar. Andy Gosfield has this fascinating piece, Emma, which looks at Emma Goldman, has a wonderful Eliza Baggs singing a significant role for that. And Darius Jones, an amazing artist who we got to peek in on the rehearsal the other day. He is making visual scores all scores can be visual, but with visual imagery that he's taught to the fellows here. So it's a very different way of kind of building and devising a piece. He's an incredible mind. So we're so thrilled he's joining us. So many other great people, but those are certainly some of the highlights. So don't miss anything and come hang out.
And you can check out all of the schedule at Mass Mocha's website for Bang on a Can's Loud Weekend. That's one of the 3 founders of Bang on a Can, Julia Wolf. We now welcome to the show Carl Larson.
Carl Larson is a Brooklyn-based pianist, a devoted supporter of contemporary composers and their craft. Larson has built a career grounded in commissioning and long-term collaborations. He frequently performs in a variety of chamber music settings, most notably with Anzu Quartet, a clarinet, violoncello, and piano quartet focused on cultivating a diverse new repertoire for their instrumentation.
As a soloist, Carl Larson is known for championing the works of his peers in the recent canon alike, often gravitating toward long-form reflective works of the 20th and 21st centuries. Through his work with Beethoven. I had to say it in the Bill and Ted's kind of way. Beethoven. Beethoven, collaborations with a wide variety of chamber musicians and his solo projects, Carl Larson has helped to generate a large body of new work, resulting in world premiere performances and pieces by notable composers, including David Lang and Michael Gordon, as well as Sarah Hennies and Scott Wolschleger.
Carl received a Doctor of Musical Arts in Contemporary Music and a Master of Arts in Piano Performance from Bowling Green State University. Larson completed his undergraduate degree at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, as a pupil of Dr. John Strauss, a sought-after collaborator. Larson has performed with many leaders in the field, including the Bang on a Can All-Stars, the International Contemporary Ensemble, Ensemble Signal, Yarn Wire, the American Composers Orchestra, Maya Bernardo, Ashley Bathgate, and Ken Thompson.
Who keeps coming up over
He
and
keeps
over
coming
again,
up.
and who you'll hear a little bit at the end of the show. He's also performed at Carnegie Hall, the Guggenheim Museum, MoMA, and right here at Mass MoCA. Carl, you, like our other guest, Shelley, also kind of grew up in this program. So tell us about you going through the program as a fellow, and when was that?
Absolutely, yeah. So I was a fellow long ago, in 2010 and 2011. And I've been here every year since, because what is left out of that bio that you just read, I'm also the company manager of this festival. So I'm very involved in a performing way and a behind the scenes administrative way. So it's great to be.
When did you transition from fellow to company manager?
2012. Right after I.
So
yep,
right after you were
right
a fellow.
after,
Wow.
yeah.
They
You knew
didn't-
what you
Yeah.
had
That's
there.
like-
You grabbed him.
It's like finding a secret level. Like, you went through the game and all of a sudden there was a hidden door and you went through it and all of a sudden you're like the festival manager.
Yep, it was just serendipity and still here. It's great.
So what does the festival manager part of it entail?
Oh, it
Wrangling
just
all these composers
many scheduling emails. Good. I have a really beautiful Google Calendar that I'm very proud of. Yeah, just making sure the trains run on time, I think, is the main thing. So big transition right now. We're moving from our residency portion of the festival to the more public-facing portion during Loud Weekend. So that's a big shift.
What are some things that have changed for the program while you've been at the helm of managing how it runs day in and day out?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, I should clarify. Philippa Thompson is our festival manager. She's the head honcho, and I'm her lackey. And but it's changed. I mean, we've grown in so many different ways, as has the museum. You know, the museum has doubled in size since I was a fellow, and there's much more. Maybe canonical work in the museum now, and I would say that the festival, from a Bang on a Can side, has also grown in the diversity of music that's represented, both from a interpersonal standpoint, but also from different styles of contemporary music that happens. So I think it's just the breadth of it has changed in a wonderful way.
What has portioning out these like 3-ish, 4-ish weeks of the year every year since being involved, like heavily involved with it since like 2012, changed about what you do and compose in the rest of the year?
Oh, well, I should clarify. I don't compose. I just work with composers. So it's, I mean, sure, everybody composes, in the shower or what have you, but I'm not about to, that's not going in the bio. I think that, being a freelancer in New York, in some ways, the Bang on a Can Festival is just another month of my life that kind of I'm able to participate and support myself in new music, which is, a real privilege to be able to do. I think it's also, I always feel at the end of the festival kind of drained, but also rejuvenated and kind of ready to go back to New York and do the freelancer grind, because the older I get, the more inspiring it is to meet these younger musicians who are really, really devoted to this very niche world, and they're so honestly excited about it. And there's an element maybe in the New York freelancing world that has a little bit of a too cool for school, or sometimes it can feel a little jaded, or you can feel a little downtrodden. It's such a busy, big place, and to have such a focused time and meeting these people who are just at the very beginning of their careers in this is inspiring for me, and kind of fills my fuel tank back up.
Well, we're going to get to hear Carl performing, but Julia Wolf, one of the founders of Bang on a Can, you have some thoughts on the piece that he's performing?
With
We're going to hear in a minute here.
Yeah, well, it's brand new, but Carl, as you can tell, is a longtime collaborator with composers, and it's great. He and Scott worked really closely on this piece. I know Carl can explain it better than I can, but you should listen out for the prepared piano as well as microtonality. So you're really talking about getting into a very haunting sound world. So the title is Ghost Song, so it goes with that. Kind of gives you a window into what they're working with. But it's a lengthy piece. It's a really significant work that they've created together. Collaborating. So we're super psyched to have it on the festival.
Anything you want to add to that, Carl?
Yeah, so Scott Wolschlager is the composer, and he and I have been collaborators for almost as long as I've been working for Bang on a Can. And he's written a lot of music for me, solo music, chamber music. There's a piano concerto even. We've released multiple albums together. And his music has really influenced my playing. Like I'm a different pianist now after working with Scott for 10 years, and I think the same goes for him. He's a different composer after working with me for so long. So we have this real symbiotic relationship. So I trust him to make these like very large, rather experimental pieces for me, and he trusts me to interpret them in the way that he expects it to go in his head. We have a really close relationship in that way, and we're also very close friends. And so the piece itself, yes, it's about an hour long. You won't hear the whole thing on the radio, but if you come to Loud Weekend, you certainly will. And it is for prepared piano, but it's not what often people think of prepared piano as kind of maybe like an abrasive sound or a trashy sound. I don't mean that to be, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but if you think about, John Cage's sonatas and interludes or things like that, it's evocative of percussion music. Mm-hmm. He's preparing the piano because he lacked the percussionists to make the dance piece that he wanted, so he invented this prepared piano thing. For Scott, it's very different. We're using it's called blue tack. It's like what you might use to like put up a poster in your dorm room, and you put it on the specific nodes, which means like harmonic nodes on the strings of the piano, and it creates this kind of ghost harmonic. So that's where the ghost sound comes from. It's a very ethereal sound. The piece is very dreamy. It's as far as its form goes, it just comes in and out of these different landscapes. So it's very evocative in that way.
Well, let's take this opportunity to hear a little excerpt of the Scott Wolschlager's composed piece, Ghost Song, by our guest, who's joined us, one of the people that's the backbone of this festival.
Bringing me back to Massmoka year in and year out.
Carl Larson.
Let's do it.
That was Carl Larson performing a piece of Scott Wolschlager's Ghost Song. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to eavesdrop on one more Bang on a Can performance with a portion from Ken Thompson.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We are at Mass Mocha in anticipation of Bang on a Can's Loud Weekend with Bang on a Can co-founder Julia Wolf. We're going to now eavesdrop on Ken Thompson's rehearsal. What are we about to hear, Julia?
Oh, Ken has written a brand new piece for this Loud Weekend. The title is We Stay the Same. So that's pretty evocative when you think about it. Where are we at and how are we staying the same? So this is a new 25-minute work for amplified orchestra. It is rhythmically urgent and often loud. He's been working on it for quite a time period. I mean, he started in 2019 and is finishing it up now for this festival in 2026, which is a nice arc to think about how we may have stayed the same. I think he means a longer term, stay the same. But I should also say Ken Thompson is one of my favorite musicians of all time. He is a member of the Bang on a Can All-Stars. He's the reed player, incredible performer. I've collaborated with him 100 times over. And just an all-around great musician, someone performer, composer, band leader in so many aspects. So he's a real treasure. So it's wonderful that you're going to pop in on that particular rehearsal going on. I'm sure it's going to be buzzing.
If people are curious what an amplified orchestra is, what are the components of this particular amplified orchestra? Or what makes this amplified orchestra?
Yeah, I don't have the instrumentation in front of me, but it's a large group, and we have some smaller groups and larger groups. It's really fun when you get a whole bunch of people in the room, and I think Ken took that opportunity to have a big group. We're all pretty amplified oriented these days. We love acoustic music as well, but there's something about, it's not just to make it loud, there's something about the sound of working with acoustic instruments that are amplified. Ken certainly has lived in that world, and it simply means that they're mic'd. At times it means could be adding effects as well, because once you add amplification, you can work with the sound in the room and the reverb and everything. But it's a kind of volume thing and a dynamism that you get once you start miking up all the instruments. You also don't have to, you can think about balance in a different way. You don't have to go, well, we got to be really quiet so we can hear the oboe. It's like the oboe can be louder than the trombone. I mean, it's very flexible in that way. And Ken's a master. He's done a lot of arrangements also for the Bang on a Can All-Stars. So he's just an all-around star, what can I say? So I'm thrilled that we get to hear some of this new work.
An all-star in his own right.
Yes, that is Bang on a Can co-founder Julia Wolf, and we leave you here, the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM, with a rehearsal from Ken Thompson. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Eavesdropping on a rehearsal of Bang on a Can all-star Ken Thompson's composition, We Stay the Same.
Thanks again to all our Bang on a Can guests from today, Bang on a Can co-founder Julia Wolf, and Bang on a Can fellows and colleagues Shelley Washington and Carl Larson.
On the next Fabulous 413, we'll visit Violet, a new cafe and soon-to-be wine bar in South Hadley.
A preview of a conference for BIPOC agriculture happening at Smith College called We the Land.
And our interim word nerd, Merriam-Webster's editor-at-large and NEPM Jazz a la Mode host, Peter Sokolowski.
I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.